Happy summer, everyone. On today's episode of the Mayor's Table, we have the Farmington Economic Development Director, Warren Unsicker, joining us. We're going to be talking about where we've been, where we're going, what we're doing in outdoor recreation and economic development. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, welcome to the Mayor's Table. With me today is our dear friend, Economic Development Director at the City of Farmington, Warren Unsicker. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Mayor.
I don't think we've had you on in a while, so this is going to be a great conversation.
Excellent.
We brought you on here today, Warren, because we want to talk about ORII.
Indeed.
ORII, Outdoor Recreation Industry Initiative, and you brought some great swag. As somebody had mentioned, you always have great swag. I love our sticker on here that has all the great outdoor things you can do in the city of Farmington.
Exactly.
But Warren, you've been a part of this mission to spread the joy of outdoor recreation and invigorate this outdoor recreation economy by utilizing nature's, nature.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
Just the absolute wonderful surroundings that we have here in the city of Farmington, the Four Corners area. And so thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Are you enjoying your run here with the economic development components for the city?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and it is so fun to see the transformation that's occurring in such a short period of time, honestly.
And to have such a big hand in it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wish I could take all the credit, but man, we've got such a great team that's working towards all these different initiatives. So
we do have a great team, but I recall us traveling to Denver, Colorado for the Outdoor Rec Conference there back in 2018?
Yeah, I think it was
right?
18.
Wasn't it 18? And putting on a really big show for everybody up there just to get the word out about what was going on in Farmington and how they had to come check it out. And I think it's working, Warren.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on your side?
And I feel like our name is starting to get out there too. People are starting to take note. We've gone back to that conference a few times, and it's starting to be where like, oh yeah, no, I remember Farmington. I've been watching you guys, and you guys are on the right trajectory, and we've become really a poster child not only for the state but on a national level for how do energy economies look to diversify.
Well, that's a great point.
So I remember when I first got here, there was talk of like, well, really energy economies, once they, have run their course, there's really not much you can do to turn the ship around, so to speak. But I feel like Farmington has done it in such a holistic manner that we haven't seen the tectonic dropout that a lot of communities had to go through in order to get to this point.
I think if somebody asked me, do you think our initiative has been successful?
Yeah.
I would base it on that fact.
Yeah.
We have not seen the shift. We've not seen the drop-off.
Absolutely.
And by the way, this idea of transitioning from one economy to another economy, right? That's not the case.
That's not exactly.
Energy is, we are an energy economy, but what we're doing now is pouring more energy into it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
What did Jim always talk about? We've always been good at extracting energy from below the ground, but now we're going to be, doing the energy above ground. And a lot of projects, and maybe some people think about, well, all you guys are doing is just building these things, and that's not necessarily the case.
Not at all,
It's much broader and bigger than that, because what defined this moment for me was that we had to do a rebrand of our community. We had to rethink who we were, who we wanted to be, where we were going to go, and build some pride on what Farmington can offer people as far as the quality of life goes, as far as tourism goes, as far as all those things.
Absolutely.
And I think we've really done a good job of keying in on that, and we've got a lot more to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is always evolving, but I feel like we've hit a stride where people have started to recognize the culture shift that has occurred here and the way that we really have created a outdoor recreation destination and a quality of place that people really genuinely want to be a part of. I mentioned, not having that fallout. I think a large part of that was that, as we saw some declines occurring, people were taking their retirement or their severance and they were pouring it back into the community. community. We've seen people get entrepreneurial and start restaurants and boutiques and outdoor recreation businesses.
Sure.
And so I think that is really what kept the ship afloat, so to speak, is that we had created a place that people wanted to be. And I think that is mission critical. And we talked about, even when I first got here, that trailing spouse issue that we used to have here in Farmington. And I feel like that has quickly dwindled as a narrative around moving to Farmington. Now, of course, we're working right now on housing and trying to build more houses to handle all the influx of people that have come here. In the 2024 census that we saw, we were showing a growth even when outside of the city limits where there was some decline in a population.
Right.
So, I mean, we are trying to meet that need and that desire of people to want to be here in Farmington.
I think that's one of the big things for me too, is the fact that it's, government kind of kicked this in motion, so to speak, right? Like we wanted to organize individuals and groups and businesses and get behind this idea.
Yes. Yeah.
And what we now have is, like you said, is growing holistically. We now have groups that are managing these things on their own. We've got things that are going on at San Juan College, thanks to FAST, Farmington Area Single Track. We've got all the things happening out in our glade with choke cherry crawlers and our cliffhangers, right? And then now we've got events going on that are motocross events that are happening here. We've got a lot of new events that are keyed around running and trail running. So that to me is another proof positive for us, because it can't be government driving this boat.
Absolutely.
We want people to take ownership for all of these things, and I think it's been exceptional to see folks come alongside it.
Yeah, well, and I think it helps us having set the tone and really put our money where our mouth is, to where they don't feel like they're doing it in a vacuum. They're not, going out into the wilderness without a guide, so to speak.
Right.
And we have seen, I think, and this is something across the board, not just for outdoor rec, but our communities and our institutions all pushing in the same direction has made this that much more impactful.
I completely agree.
Because if it was us all going in disparate directions, it wouldn't have been the way it is.
I mean, all the big stakeholders, I feel, are rowing in the same way, and they're capitalizing on the messaging.
Right.
And it's, again, I truly believe it's kind of changed the trajectory of this city.
Yeah.
So I wanted you on here today to kind of talk a little bit about kind of where things are looking at right now, things that are happening here in the city, and that is kind of built around outdoor recreation, where there's some gaps. Sure. Whether it's jobs that we need people to fill that are wrapped into this type of economy, or it's an industry that we're missing, or something we need to grow from. Right. And that was kind of my thoughts on it. So where we've been, Warren, I'll just kind of bring people up to date. I just made this list of some places and things that we've done that are built around outdoor recreation. And it's not just necessarily things happening on trails, even though we've had, I don't know, we have over 100 miles now of trail, mountain bike trail in this area?
Just all across the board between all the BLM land and our trails and counties. I mean, it's just expansive.
BLM's invested in it. The county's invested in it. We're investing in it.
Yep.
This is just for mountain bikes specifically. We've got Juniper Basin Bike Park, which should be kicking off here this summer. That'll just add to that another quality of life. But the East Glade Mountain Bike Park was a big part of that. The San Juan College Pump Track, another huge component of that. We've got the pickleball courts that have gone up. I know there's more demand for pickleball courts, and I'm hopeful that there'll be a private party who will build us some pickleball courts. The golf courses. The renovations for both what has been done at Pinion Hills, and there's been some facelifting done over at Civitan. But looking to utilize that space next to Civitan, where we have the horseshoe pits, trying to find something that could go and complement that wonderful area. The events that are taking place with ReRock, the downtown takeover, and the continued expansion of that program also.
It's been really evolving over the years,
I really just encourage people, make sure you're paying attention to what's on the farmingtonnm.org website, where we've got the community calendar, because so much of this is on there. The Road Apple Rally's grown. Participation in that has been fantastic. In accompanying all this, you and I talked about this the other day, for me, I want to get people outside.
Right.
I want to make sure we're taking advantage of what we have around us, and we're trying to put things in place so you can have an experience that's
Exactly.
exciting or calm. Farmington Lake.
Yeah.
Farmington Lake was closed until 2014 to most
Right.
all activities, and now it's become this bustling, humming, fun outdoor recreation component for the city. And my son and his friends are there all the time.
Yeah.
But I wanted us to capitalize on that, and for people's health, people's quality of life, and again, like you've said, to make it a destination. And the events that we see that are building up around it, I think are, again, a telltale sign of our name is getting out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and again, it's that desire to catalyze private development, private events. For a long time, Farmington City has been the, sole champion of a lot of events in the community. And this is just finally starting to turn a corner where we're seeing all these private event organizers taking note of like, oh yeah, there's all these great assets I can use here in Farmington to hold these events. And so as far as where we've come from and where we're going, I was looking up some statistics, and over the since 2019, we've seen a significant increase in the amount of visitor spend here in Farmington. I think it was like 21% increase. And so,
and what visitors are spending here in the city when they come.
When they come and visit, yeah.
Which means they're probably staying longer.
They're staying, and going out further. We long talked about how this is kind of the center point for the Four Corners. And that's 100% true, not only for outdoor rec, but just in terms of commerce, jobs, every workforce. We're the largest hub for this four-state region. And so it makes good sense for them to start here and go out to all those amazing bucket list items that they can do. I saw recently there was a group that came all the way from Texas to go on a horseback riding trip here. It was a guide group, brought them all the way up to here to go on a horseback riding trip just to see the landscape. And so we have something unique, and we have something that people are actually looking for. They just hadn't realized Farmington was the place to start and get it from. And I think as far as we're moving forward, again, the quality of place we've created, the trails expansion along our river, and along our with our different parks that we've been putting in to meet all the different needs of all the different types of outdoor recreators, is really what's moving the needle. Because whether you're just a citizen that wants to go out on a nice walk on a sunny afternoon, or you're wanting to go and raft the rivers and do something exciting and more challenging, we have all of that now, and we're adding to it with things like the surf wave, which is going to be a whole new challenge that people are going to get to take on, that is truly unique and regional in its effect. And that's the other thing, is these things we're putting in are regional draws, not just local draws. But I don't think they change the makeup of the community. I feel like it fits well with our current residents and what they expect to see as a member of the Farmington community, that we're meeting their needs and keeping in mind not just tourists but the people that live here too. And I think they've all bought into that. And so the end goal, so ORII has always been kind of a three-pronged approach: the tourism side, the infrastructure side, but then the business side.
Right.
And that's really where I've been focusing a lot of my efforts, and we're finally seeing that take off in significant manner. We did start with our incubator there with Desert River Guides being the first rafting company we'd had here in who knows how long, as well as Bear Automotive, to showcase here is what can be done here in Farmington in both the manufacturing and the tourism side of things. We now have what's called Sasquatch XC, which are off-road campers that is being manufactured at the college in their incubator. They located there because of the workforce that we have here, and likewise for the use of that space that's right next to the maker space that gives them all the tools they need to create a lot of custom fabricated parts and things. And we're seeing more interest in businesses here. In fact, we're going to be putting 2 letters of interest that the council just approved this week for a glamping operation there at Anisi Park, which, for those that don't know where Anisi Park is, it's just to the, I guess that'd be the south of the Webb Toyota there on Main Street. You wouldn't even know it's there, but you get back there, is this beautiful wooded area that opens up into a nice pasture plain area with riparian, setup with the bluffs in the background. You'd never know you're right smack in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And we're trying to attract some camping activity there. And then with the wave feature coming online, we're putting out a letter of interest for a surf shop to be there on the riverfront, right next to the Gateway Park. And so those all the pieces we put in place are starting to, again, inspire entrepreneurs to be a part of the next steps of Farmington.
We need more of that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. We need somebody to build and run a zip line.
There you go.
That was one of the first ideas.
It was, out at Lake Farmington. That'd be a wonderful, phenomenal activity for us to have. So
the glamping component, just so people understand a little bit more about that, because people are going to have questions, because there's camping on the river and then there's glamping on the river.
Yes.
So it's a little bit different.
Yes, and so these are, somewhere between just a standard tent and a yurt. It's a structured tent that is made, usually up off the ground, and usually it's still rustic, but it may have some amenities, some, solar lights and some things run to it. But it's meant to be kind of a high-end camping experience in a rustic setting.
Okay.
So it's not in a camper or a cabin, but it's just kind of in between there. And it's made to be kind of a curated experience, usually well amenitied inside. And so these would be rented out, much like either an Airbnb or a campsites that we have up at Lake Farmington, and be more or less off-grid. But again, this is such a great spot. We actually have in the middle of this a nice, relatively flat area that could be easy enough to develop and set something up like that, because we're not having to run infrastructure. And so that's really what this is kind of a high-end, semi-amenitied camping experience right in the heart of Farmington that is in the middle of seemingly nowhere when you get there. So.
Well, and it's great for those people who are there because you got access to all the restaurants, all the shopping, everything's right nearby. I've always thought that having a KOA type campground on the river,
and that's the long-term vision too, is that it become more than just that. But this is a stepping stone to show the proof of concept of this is a spot where people will want to come and relax and get away from things, by still having access to all the amenities they would want to have.
Right. So, want to try that out.
Yeah. Right.
It's like a staycation.
Yeah. Exactly right. Man, you'd never know.
The other thing we put out there was a surf shop. A temporary surf, but a surf shop to go with our Animus Riverwave.
Yeah, and the only reason for being temporary, again, proof of concept, but also because we have long-term vision on that east side of Gateway Park to create more of a destination and riverfront activity. And that is something we're really trying to push is, we have all this beautiful riverfront, but not really much to do on the riverfront. Sure, the river trails are lovely, but you can't stop and get a coffee. You can't go and get a bite to eat. You're not going to be able to pick up a surfboard on your way around, or a raft or whatever, while you're on the river. And so, that's something you see in most riverfront communities, is more activity along the riverfront that is, accessible and retail oriented. And so long term, we want to try and attract a brewery or some kind of a high-end restaurant with a patio dining opportunity, or small retail that is going to meet the needs of the activities people are doing along the riverfront. And so this is, again, another proof of concept, and hopefully inspire people as they look at there and think, I would love to start this along the riverfront, and I wonder if the city of Farmington would be interested. Spoilers, we are.
Spoilers. Well, and we also have a great setup for folks who are interested, by the way, with our meetings that we hold. We hold our planning office.
Development review committees, yes.
So the DRC is held once a week, right? And then
every other week now.
Every other week. But people can come in with their idea, shoot it off at the city. This is what I want to do. Tell me what I need to do, and make sure that they get off on the right foot instead of doing something they weren't supposed to do or forgetting a step.
Right.
We want to partner with them.
Absolutely.
And walk hand in hand to see them be successful in whatever that endeavor may be. So long as it's a good endeavor, right?
Absolutely. And that is, it's very informal. It's not a commitment. You can actually do it with a building you don't even own, per se. If you're looking to buy something and say, hey, I really want to put this business in it, we can say, oh, hey, wait, you're going to have to do these things to this building because of its size. It needs fire suppression, or you're going to have to bring it up to ADA, or, the zoning's not right, or whatever it is. So you don't buy something and then go, oh, wait, you mean this doesn't work at all for the business concept I had? Oh, shoot. And so it's really important, and it's a zero commitment opportunity and a zero risk. It just gives you better information.
Yeah.
So,
well, again, part of the thing that I've wanted to push, as an elected official is making sure that we're trying to find ways to say yes, that the city is looking for opportunity and we're not shutting it down.
Exactly right.
And I've found a big commitment to that mission within our staff. And
Absolutely.
I continue to get positive feedback from people who've gone to the development review committees, or they've had to work with planning and zoning in some way, public works, and how much they appreciate the professionalism and really the quick service that comes out of there. So
Yeah.
that definitely helps.
Absolutely. And these are people coming from other states, from other communities that are used to a more onerous process. They're
Right.
used to people starting at no and then working their way back, whereas we, as a rule, for the most part, start at how can we figure this out together.
Sure.
And come to hopefully a yes that works for everybody. And so, I mean, that's huge, again, is something you don't see in every community that helps catalyze things and keep them moving forward.
Yeah. Well, within the realm of outdoor recreation, we also have the realm of art.
Yes.
And I see outdoor art as a component, again, to get people outside, really enjoy these spaces that have been created for pedestrians and families. And downtown has become a real showcase of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just as a general rule, outdoor recreation and just outdoor shopping, outdoor art appreciation, all those things kind of go hand in hand. And again, it's that level of activity that you want to do. And that is a low-key, active opportunity in our downtown that you can take a lap around downtown in a pretty short period of time, go for a nice walk, and see 17 different pieces of art that we've pulled from the Four Corners region.
Yeah.
That $12 million that was invested in downtown, I think, has come back in spades. The return on investment for the city and the number of businesses that have located down there, it's gotten to the point where they're bleeding out onto Broadway and further around the downtown because there's just running out of space. I remember for a good long while, Mayor, you'd gotten feedback like, oh, well, downtown's just empty. It's no longer the case.
No.
It's to a point where we're now having to say, sorry, you're going to have to expand your horizons and start looking at Broadway or the Animas District and some of the other areas in the MRA that are available and opportunities are still there. So, but yeah, that art component really, again, builds into the culture of the community, helps encourage people that yes, there is a personality to the community as well that they can take advantage of. And I have to give big shout out to the Civic Center and the work that Randy and Krista and the Parks and Cultural Affairs Department are doing to bring quality shows to our community as well.
Yes.
Because again, that's that nighttime entertainment thing that we've always been pushing for, that people look for, and they've really dialed it in terms of the types of entertainment, whether it's cover bands that meet all the different eras and types of music that people enjoy, or musicals that are on a really high level with the troupe they've created. Because I mean, these are people traveling all over the nation that come back here to call home and put on these amazing shows.
We got Hairspray going on
Yeah.
at Sandstone right now,
Right,
which I've
another
heard is great.
venue.
Yeah. There's some things, Warren, though, that I want.
Okay,
I want an ice cream shop downtown.
I like it.
I want comedy nights at the Tota.
We've had a few of those. It's a nice
Yeah.
spot for it, for sure.
I like that the candlelight vigil or the candlelight
Yes.
concert series. I
Yes.
thought that was great. We need more of those. Just trying to inspire some people out there.
Yeah, yeah.
We need concert promoters. Somebody who's
Yeah.
interested in putting some money up, and we can utilize some of these other bigger, not arenas, but bigger
Yeah, the
spaces to
venues.
bring in some bigger known bands.
Yeah, I mean, and the Tota is a great spot. We've upgraded all the equipment in there, and I think
Sure.
they're upgrading some equipment in the Civic Center too. I mean, so we've got the stuff that people need. So go ahead.
No, it's just fun to see all this kind of take shape.
It is.
And I love the hustle and bustle that's downtown now, especially in the nighttime.
Yeah.
You go to dinner, you're going to a show. It kind of, again, we want to create memories that people can carry with them for a lifetime and endear this place to them in their heart. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's really important to us.
Yeah. No, and people that have lived here forever, and likewise those that are moving in, they look around that and they can see the care that was put in. Downtowns are the kind of the core and the heart of a community. They look around and they go, this is a community that cares about itself and wants to be something incredible, and they buy into it. And they're like, okay, we need to start looking at houses and start, imagining retiring here or moving here and starting their business here. And so, and we've got a lot of new businesses too that are going to be driving that as well, between things like the new hospital being built, the LDS temple that's almost completed, and some of these other larger businesses that are coming in. again, is bringing in new people, new investment, and new opportunities, and people moving back here too. I can't count the number
Yes.
of developers and people that are saying, I've lived in XYZ state for 20 years now, finally coming home, and I want to put my money here because I can see that there's a potential for growth and investment here. So,
Well, you've talked about just the diversity of license plates
yes.
in the city now.
Yeah.
You're seeing license plates from all over the place.
Yeah, and places you used to see, Texas, Tulsa, places like that, other oil and gas states. It's all over now. I mean,
Yeah.
you're seeing Pennsylvania, you're
Georgia.
seeing Georgia. Yeah, it's just across the board now. So
They're finding us, Warren.
yeah, they
You're
really
doing
are.
a good job,
No,
man.
we're all doing a great job.
Can we get a Trader Joe's?
I'm still pushing on them, and Costco.
Can we get a
Don't worry.
Costco?
I keep pestering them. They're like, Warren, just hold your horse.
I love every year there's some rumor that starts, oh, Costco's coming,
Yep.
or Trader Joe's is coming.
Any day now, right?
Yeah. And I promise people, if that were to ever happen,
Oh, man.
we would be yelling it from the
Fanfare.
treetops.
Do a parade
no doubt.
for
It would be a huge deal.
But we are seeing, again, businesses taking note. They're seeing, but I want to remind people, they look at your spending habits. So if you're wanting something, make sure you're spending in a way that catches their interest, because they look at all our credit card transactions. They know more about us than we ever know.
I know.
And it's so, but if people say, oh, well, stop bringing fast food places, I'm not doing it.
Right. We aren't doing it. No.
It is truly because of our spending habits. And so if there's different things, you got to look at your spending patterns, and that's how it's going to move the needle in the other direction.
Coffee and fried chicken, Warren. That's what's building this city right now.
It's true.
Coffee and fried chicken.
It's very true.
There's going to be a new coffee shop opening up over by the Maverick on
Yeah.
East Main. They've started breaking ground on that, so that'll be interesting. And
That's
then
good.
plans for maybe another coffee shop on another piece of parcel here, not too far off. Gas stations,
Yeah.
also a key component of current economic activity in the city.
People are coming here, and that's what's driving it. That's the thing, is that it's a good sign all across the board. And I will say, sometimes you'll see something shut down, and man, people are like, oh, Farmington's going under now. It's like, no, that ran its course. Again, our spending habits changed, and now it's something else, and something else is coming in right on its heels.
It's true.
And so, people need to not take that as a bellwether for the entire community. It's just sometimes things run their course, and then we can, make room for something new and exciting for the communities.
I just went on a 10-day East Coast trip, and you go on these kind of trips and you go to these bigger cities, and every time I come back, I'm like, I'm so glad I live in Farmington. I'm so glad that I don't have to deal with the traffic
Right.
and the noise and
man.
everything that you see going on in these bigger cities. Even though we have a lot of the big city amenities,
Exactly right.
it is in this small town kind of environment.
Absolutely.
So I do encourage people to get away from your community for a while
Yeah.
if you're frustrated, and go somewhere else.
Get some perspective, right?
And see what real traffic looks like,
Yes.
and what delays look like when you're on a freeway and not moving anywhere, or in a downtown area not moving anywhere, and then come back and realize that, man, we really do have it good,
Yeah.
and it's something worth being proud of and,
Yeah.
and celebrating and sharing with other people. And
Absolutely.
I love
right.
it.
Yeah. The airport opening back up with air travel.
Yes.
I mean, again, just more stuff. Big kudos to
win.
Mike and all their team out at the airport. And I mean, all the pieces are falling into place. And again, it's that holistic approach that's been taken that's really, I think, moving the needle as a whole for the community.
Well, I will say this too. We have like $170 million of projects going on right now between Pinyon Hills
Yeah.
Bridge extension, the different parks,
Yeah,
things
the
that are
old Abilities
happening,
Park, and yeah.
the new police station.
Mm-hmm.
And none of that could have been possible if we didn't have good people like you and staff who are, apparently you must be grant wizards. I'm just going to call you the wizards of federal grants, because most of that money has come in from state and federal grants.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I think it's like an 80-20 breakdown if you look at it. So, and I dispel some things here. A lot of these projects, the monies that are dedicated to it, came out of grants that were dedicated to those kind of projects.
Yeah.
Not taking money from road funds.
No,
We're not taking money from anything else. It's being directed because that's how it was supposed to be directed, to that particular project.
Absolutely.
So sometimes I hear those things. Well, why are you spending all this? Well, hang on, no, we're not. I mean, this is coming from, it's your money, by the way. It's your tax dollars that you've sent to the feds that we are trying to bring back here.
Absolutely.
And putting it to good work.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, like you said, that return on investment we're getting, and we're doubling and tripling our money in the process, because we couldn't do these projects just with our city funds alone. And so we are really trying to maximize our dollars more than anything. And that's why when you see us run on a project, it's because we have grant funds we got to spend down like now, and we want to make sure we're being good stewards of our money too, so we don't lose that opportunity. And so, I mean, you look at the river waves, a prime example. 2.5 million of that 3 million came straight from grants that we got for that project. So I mean,
Market Pavilion, same thing. That came from Gold King Mine funds,
tourism department, and various different other fund sources. So I mean, it really has been. We've been very fortunate that we've been able to capture a lot of that funding for our community. And again, a lot of these grant fund agencies are like, what's next? They see the proof in the pudding, so to speak, and they love being able to come and do the ribbon cuttings with us because we do good projects and they do what they're supposed to do. So I think we're really setting ourselves up for future success by doing these projects and doing them well. It makes a big difference.
Talk to me about gaps that you see.
We obviously need more manufacturing. We need more of the production of goods. And, one of the big hurdles we have there, of course, is just our logistics distribution. We don't have rail and we don't have an interstate. But we're starting to see some warehousing opportunities. You look at the Amazon warehouse, that's a good sign that people are seeing that, we can overcome some of those hurdles just by economies of scale or by the fact that there is a market for it nearby. And so we are working to try and, build into that. We're also looking at what are the next steps in energy. You mentioned you're putting energy back into things here. Where is energy leading now? And, natural gas is kind of having a little bit of a renaissance. We're seeing more activity in that realm and more use of that. But, you look at hydrogen, we're evaluating that. When you look at solar, where we've got several projects under construction right now that are putting tax dollars back into the community. Don't create as many jobs as we'd like to see, but at least it's bringing dollars into the community and keeping them here. And construction jobs, of course, which is always, a temporary boon. But I think that we do need that piece. We are looking at ways to do manufacturing around foodstuffs because we do have that component here. You look at
2,400 farms in San Juan County.
Absolutely, and 100,000 acres of pivot irrigated land there at Nappy, and so finding ways that we can bring in more of the manufacturing piece of agriculture, because so much of that and trying to export it when it's fresh and raw is water, and so if we can get processing facilities here, it's a whole lot easier to get a bag of chips out of here than it is a giant bucket of heavy wet potatoes.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I see is an ongoing push. We're seeing healthcare expand, which is great, but we need more healthcare workers here.
We do. It's a major state issue.
Exactly right. And that's why we're working on housing, because we need to make sure there's a housing inventory that meets the needs of those families that are moving here to work in our medical industry.
Yeah.
So, people like, well, why are you focusing on this over here or that over there? It's all tied together. And that's the thing that people have to remember, is that even the outdoor rec piece is part of the workforce initiative, because that's what draws and keeps workforce here. We've even done like location neutral workforce attraction. But you look at like broadband coming in. We've got fiber internet coming into town now. And that's a huge thing that people look for, especially if they're working remote or they have a very digital heavy job, that they can be able to take advantage of that. So we're starting to see more creatives come this direction. It gives us that capability to accomplish things with even data centers and things to that effect. So I think that we're on the right track. It's just taking longer than we'd hoped, but to get the manufacturing piece. But we're getting things like the rail is further along than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Big kudos to the county on their efforts to get those grants from the feds, which we're, knock on wood, keep those funds intact as we move through the processes. But I think those things are making a big difference in our capabilities to be competitive on a national scale. And that's the thing, is we're competing on a national and sometimes international scale.
People need to understand that.
Yeah.
That's part of this urgency of a lot of these initiatives, is we need to strike now, because the longer we wait, the further behind we become.
Yeah.
And it's legitimately a race.
Yeah.
And you can see, and I've talked about this on the radio show, incentives are key.
Yes.
Where people can be incentivized, they're going to go. And unfortunately in New Mexico right now, there's not a lot of incentive coming out of our state. And it's funny, this gentleman I've come to know makes this comment. He's like, the idea of winning in Santa Fe is different than the idea of winning for you and I. You know, so you got to keep those things in mind when we get frustrated with what's going on. There's a different concept of what winning looks like. We want to win here in Farmington, and I think that's why we are set apart from the rest of the state, and is because we have that winning attitude, and we're keying in on the things that we believe make life worth living. So, skydiving, Warren, I want skydiving at the airport. I think it'd be great. Paragliders, we need a paraglider club. Cultural tourism, I think, is another really important one that the gap has not been filled on.
Well, and I want to touch on all of those things you just mentioned. There is the curated experience. That's the thing that we really need, are the people that are passionate about these things, that know them inside, outside, and backwards, that want to share it with visitors, and that want to share it with people that when their family come to visit, they can say, yeah, no, we're going to go out with this guide. They know all the best places. It's been DIY for far too long, and it's getting better, but we still need more, and we need that connectivity with like the hotels. You need packages. You need it to be a truly seamless experience, because when you go to these bigger tourism destinations, that's how it is. You can literally call up your hotel and they're like, oh yeah, no, here's all the brochures, here's all the people that you need to go talk with, and it's really easy to find what you need. We have some of that, but we just don't have the critical mass of it that we ought to, considering all the things you can do here in Farmington.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, we can't, as the city, do all of those things. We need entrepreneurs that have those knowledge bases and those skills to be able to do it in a way that meets the needs of the visitors that are coming here.
Absolutely. Well, we've done a lot of work, and
Yes.
we've got a lot of more work to do, and it takes everybody in this city, certainly those who are, as you said, are passionate about these things, to see this mission forward, and to truly, I don't know, when you were in Tulsa,
Yeah.
during a Renaissance time there, maybe. Can you compare those two experiences?
Yeah, and you know, it is a good comparative analysis, because you know, a lot of things that happened there are kind of happening here, just on a different scale. Downtown, when I left my office in downtown, big high rise, at 5 o'clock it was dead. I mean, you literally, it was, you know, the tumbleweed went across the street, and they, the one gentleman with asking for coins on the corner, and within, again, probably 6-7 years, they started putting in restaurants. The governor, the mayor passed a business improvement district where they started assessing in the downtown a tax specifically on the property owners down there to build this beautiful stadium that they use for events and programming. Just changed the shape of the entire downtown, and all of a sudden you got off at 5 and man, it was more busy than it was earlier that day.
Wow.
People going out to eat, people going to shows, people going to baseball games, concerts. It was just a tectonic shift, and so I think we've done a lot of that same type of stuff to the same success rate, in terms of keeping people here, adding activity that keeps people downtown longer, that, you know, they go out to a show and then they can go get food or drink downtown. You know, that you can go to art galleries, you can go and do all these, you know, shopping opportunities. And so I think that we've seen that. Overall, again, Tulsa's done a lot of investment just in their parks. You know, I don't know if you've seen the Guthrie Green and some of those things downtown, and we're about to redo Orchard Park here in Farmington. I think that's going to be another great venue.
No, just calm down.
Oh.
We're not about to. Okay, but we're thinking about it.
Oh, sorry.
I don't want people going, when's
Yes,
this
I'm sorry.
happening?
Yes,
What do we,
sorry.
do we know about it?
We are evaluating and working on designs for the revitalization of Orchard Park. So, you know, that's going to hopefully become a even better venue that it already is,
Sure.
because it's so utilized by all kinds. I mean, Maker's Market is happening as we speak, and so hopefully more concerts, more events, more things will be conducive in that space, those, you know, hidden spaces or second spaces. You know, another thing that happened in downtown Tulsa as all these activities started coming along was you saw a lot of these beautiful historic buildings being renovated and turned into hotels and hospitality, really boutique and cool places to stay downtown. It really, again, moved the needle on, the experience for people coming there.
Sure.
And, that's one thing that, I did a hotel feasibility study just recently for the city to look at how can we attract more boutique hospitality that is geared towards tourism, because just by nature of our communities, jobs ebbs and flows. We've had a lot of long-term stay and more workforce-oriented hotels. We really need to start looking toward how do we attract more of that destination hotel that is a southwestern experience. And so we've actually seen a lot of renovation occurring. I don't know if you've seen it, Mayor, but it's along that Scott Avenue area, there's 2 hotels that just got nicely renovated,
right?
And really making that a nicer feel. And actually 3, if you count the Marriott, which was another one in recent past, and that's making a big difference. But I know we have a vision eventually, hopefully, for the Red Lion to also follow in that footsteps.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a question I get all the time: is what's going on at the Red Lion, and it's complicated.
Yeah.
It has another new owner now, who just bought it at auction.
Yeah.
Essentially, but there is unfortunately there's a federal floodplain there that exists.
Floodway, which is even worse.
It wasn't an issue before,
right?
But now that that's been vacant that long, any new thing going in there is going to have to meet the requirements of whatever that floodway is, and that complicates that.
It really does.
So we're hopeful that this new owner, right? And Warren, I mean, people are like, "Well, just tear it down." Well, we don't own it. One. 2, it's like $2.5 million to tear down. It is a big structure.
It's
so
huge,
this is not a simple thing, but I understand it. It's an eyesore. It's right in a corridor, right as you're coming into the city. And I agree with everybody about their sentiments on it. We want to get it cleaned up. We want it to look nice. We want it to be a functional building that accentuates that river corridor.
Absolutely. And that's part of why I did that feasibility study too, is there a way to help market and get out the word like this? These are some opportunities there. We've also looked at close to the Civic Center downtown as another opportunity for kind of creating that conference center hotel feel for downtown. Because man, talk about an easy choice to be able to stay downtown, go to your conference, and then go out to dinner that evening and walk around the shops and then just go crash in your bed there without even have to get in your car.
No, a hotel downtown will create its own economy for that area, and you will see businesses pop up quickly to support it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that is a next step for us, too, as we continue to build the outdoor recreation sphere, is that hospitality that really is geared towards the tourism industry. So, I think that from a business perspective, we are seeing more professionals move here. A lot of commercial space has been eaten up. We're running low on some of those things, and so we need more of those smaller shop spaces, restaurant spaces, and things like that. Yeah, if someone could start mass producing restaurant spaces, I've got a list of just, interested people in where can I start a restaurant kind of opportunities. And so we're seeing more diversity of dining as well. We're seeing more homegrown of those types of venues. And so I think entrepreneurs are going to be a big push here, and our local existing businesses too. You look at Pesco just are moving into the newly revitalized industrial park up in La Plata area there.
Sure.
So businesses are expanding internally here. But housing is going to be our next step to keep that momentum going, and just keep filling all these jobs that are being created. So,
well, we've had developers knocking on the door, and we've got a couple that are moving forward, which is great news.
Yeah.
Land is a problem. We need space.
Yeah.
But for people to come in and start renovating some older properties or building homes in some of these older neighborhoods where there is vacant land. The Animas District is a great example of that.
Right.
I saw a number of different types of buildings on my trip to the East Coast that I think would fit really well here. That
absolutely.
People are, yeah.
One thing I do want to say is that, I want to encourage people as they see some of this growth happening, don't take it as a threat to the way that farming has been or could be. People sometimes they hear more density of housing and it's something that they see as a negative. This is something that's going to raise property values. It's going to bring in new investment, new people. I remember when I first moved to Tulsa, I lived in an apartment. it was just what we could afford at the time as
Sure.
we were getting started in our careers. And sometimes people just need that stepping stone so they can then buy their, forever home or things like that. And so, just because it's not what you have or what you're used to doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that, these are places where people can start. These are the people that work in our grocery stores and in our retail areas that you see every day and interact with, need places they can afford and they're attainable from a housing perspective. And so just wanted to plant that seed of like, don't see it as negative. It's something that's a sign that our community is growing in a positive direction.
And we want to grow.
And we want to grow.
We really do.
Yeah.
In order to be sustainable and continue the quality of life that we have here,
Absolutely.
we can't get stagnant. I mean, stagnation is death
Yeah.
to communities, and that was something that everybody was really worried about here for
Sure.
a number of years. And so I think we're on the up and up,
Yep.
Warren. I think this past year, fiscal year, has shown. I mean, our just for economic activity coming through gross receipts tax was at the highest point it's ever been.
It's amazing.
A lot of that driven by the new construction work that's going on here,
Yep.
and that's awesome.
Yep.
And we're going to continue to see that go on. But I do want to encourage people to stay active in their community, stay apprised of things that are happening, ask questions of the right people.
Yes.
Rumors on Facebook aren't always the right way to go about it, but and provide your input.
Yeah.
I think is really important as well. What would you like to see going on here in Farmington?
Right.
I ask that question of every school kid when I go visit our elementary schools or our middle schools. What do you guys want to see? They all want a Raising Cane's, Warren.
Yes,
That's what they want. They all want Raising Cane's.
They really do. I love going and getting my hair cut because I always learn something new from anybody. I kind of work my way around different places, and boy, the input I get there is always just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And usually someone across the way will be like, yeah, but also that. And what about one of these? And I'm just like, yeah, no, absolutely. Totally
Sure.
see what you're saying there. So, yeah.
We need a good steakhouse. I hear that one a lot. But maybe there's a new restaurant that's opened up on Main. Maybe they're going to have great steak. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have to try it out.
Absolutely.
It's funny. It is funny to listen to people and the things that matter to them. We need a go-kart place. We need putt-putt, golf.
We do need more youth and young adult entertainment. I will attest to that. But I think that it's starting.
But not government ran.
Precisely.
We need a private
Yes,
entity to do
we
this.
need private entities. But we are, as a city, you mentioned, we have the capability and the willingness to examine public-private partnerships.
Sure.
So there is opportunities there. There is potential incentives for the right projects that we can do what we can to help. So.
Yeah, Family Funland was here when I first moved to Farmington. It had putt-putt. It had a little mini roller coaster. It had a little arcade.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was always busy.
Yeah.
And then it got neglected and it went by the wayside. But
Yeah.
I do think there is for people with the money, a group with money, a lot of patience, and a lot of willingness to stick it out. I mean, there's money to be made in that area.
I have to do one last shout out for our entrepreneurs out there. Please market yourselves. Word of mouth and a Facebook page is not a marketing plan make. It's got to happen. So I love seeing entrepreneurs get out there and do their thing, but make sure you're doing it in a way that people can see you and make sure they can patronize your business, because we have a lot of great businesses here.
We do.
But not everybody knows about them, and that's
Yeah.
important for them to do that.
And utilize traditional methods, in my opinion. Do the
Yeah.
newspaper ads.
Yeah.
Do radio ads.
Absolutely.
I mean, you really, when you're starting out, try and be as broad as you possibly can to get people to recognize your name.
And you talk about feedback and input. Reach out, get people's opinions on what they want to see too when you're starting your business, because you want to make sure you have a target market, and what your target market wants is important. So, sorry, I digress.
No, you're good. Warren, anything else you want to add to this conversation today?
I just have to say, in my time here, it's as short as it's been, 8 years now. I love what I've seen in Farmington, and again, it's in large part due to the commitment and the passion and the just collaboration of this community. And again, it couldn't be, no one person is responsible for all this, but a lot of people with a good sense of leadership like yourselves and the council and some of the institutions and leaders that we have really moved that needle in the right direction. So
I'm humbled and just feel very fortunate to be here at this time,
Yeah.
where we have so many level-headed individuals,
Right.
utilizing common sense approach to how do we address future economic needs and sustainability in our community. So I'm grateful for your service and for what you do. And
Pleasure to do it.
Yeah, again, we're a good team, and we're going to continue to work on behalf of this community for a long time, and going to get good things out of it. So,
Absolutely.
Warren Unsicker, thanks for being with us today, and thank
Always
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in today, whether it was on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. We're all over the place now, so we appreciate your viewership. And if you have ideas, things that you would like to even have on this show, don't be afraid to let us know. So, I hope you're enjoying your summer. We'll see you here again next time on the Mayor's Table.